Right. Okay. So what we're going to do, we're going to look at the financials behind it all. I'm going to start off with last season's results that Wrexham published. So this is to the end of June 30th, 2023. So obviously at the end of June in 2024, there's going to be a new set of figures published, which we're going to dissect then.
Yeah.
But basically, I'll just give you a brief rundown of those results from last year. So in the season where promotion was achieved from the National League for both the men's and women's senior teams, turnover for the year was 10.78 million, which was up from 5.972 million in 2022, with a loss increasing to 5.113 million from 2.913 million in 2022. Income was increased across the board, with the most significant in the retail operation reaching 3.3 million, up from 1.3 million in 2022. And sponsorship advertising raising to 1.88 million from 1.053 million in 2022. The increase in football revenue, 1.31 million, up from 0.5 million, can be attributed to their success in the FA Cup run. So now we're on to this season.
Yep.
They've just been promoted into League One. Whoop whoop. Big achievement.
Massive.
Yeah, but what we're going to do is give you a very, very whistle-stop tour for those that don't know the Wrexham story as to what happened. So, Dave, do you want to just run us through very quickly from when Ryan and Rob took over the club to where we're at now?
Yeah, absolutely. So if we rewind a bit and recap, as you say, so the journey is under the stewardship of Rob McElhenney and Ryan Reynolds. McReynolds LLC bought the club in November 2020 for £2 million following an overwhelming vote in their favour from a 2,000-strong supporters trust. Massive tick. Having Humphrey Kerr as well, Paul Strings, was great. So he's really well respected. Their secret weapon, top bloke. Fans love him, and he was well behind it as well. Another massive tick. So having missed out on promotion in their first season in charge, they gained automatic promotion to the Football League, League 2, in the 2022-2023 season. And then back-to-back promotions were achieved after automatic promotion this season, 23-24. So it's League One footy next year.
It's League One football, so we are just, I say we.
We're fans, right? I'm a fan. I'm a big
honestly,
fan.
When Ben was there for the last 8 games of last season, I went to every one of those last 8 games, and I don't know whether it's because I support Wolves, a Premier League club, and I've always kind of gone to watch Ben with his friends and his family wherever he's gone. But that's always been at Premier League clubs, so I probably haven't had a lot of experience of lower league clubs, and I just fell in love with the club. It was just amazing. Yeah. Like going to those last 8 games, the fans, the community, everyone's just pulling in the same direction. So it holds a very, very special place in my heart and gave me probably my best day out ever at a football match. In fact, it was the best day out ever at a football match when Wrexham beat Notts County 3-2. Ben saved that last minute penalty and that near enough guaranteed promotion to League 2 and League Football. So what we're going to talk about is, though, the revenue opportunities for Wrexham for next season. Now they're a League One club. So there's a few main ways in that football clubs generate revenue, Dave. So we're going to look at these one by one and discuss this in relation to Wrexham. So the first one being retail sales. So talk us through the retail sales, Dave.
Yeah, absolutely. So look, retail sales, shirts, we've got a couple of them up here, £54.95. But, with improvements in capacity and awareness, thanks to the documentary in sort of the recent years, Wrexham's reported 3.4 million in retail sales in 2023, which was an incredible increase from 1.3 million reported in 2022. And I think what makes that even more massive is that you couldn't get shirts. They were always out of stock.
No, mate, I couldn't get them. I went, like I said, last season I went to the last 8 games. I think four or five of them were at home. Went in the club shop every game, out of stock. Went online, out of stock. Went to buy a training top or something for the podcast today, out of stock. So that 3.4 million could potentially have been
what could it have been?
Who knows? Who knows? So this season will be really, really interesting because at the start of last season, the 23-24 season, they signed a year-long extension with Macron, who's the manufacturer of their kits. And quite frankly, I don't think they could keep up with demand. So I presume this season that they're not going to renew with Macron, which begs the question, who are they going to go with?
Exactly. You think it's going to be a Nike, a New Balance, right? But Pretty sure Castor are sniffing around at the moment, throwing some cash around at something like this.
They are. There's been some quality issue kind of question marks with Castor, and they are throwing big money around. But with the American-Canadian ownership, I would be surprised if Nike and New Balance weren't in the equation. A couple of things are for sure. It has to be an incredibly strong commercial offering. If you're going to be the manufacturer of Wrexham's shirts, it's going to have to be a good deal. But secondly, which is a little bit different to some clubs, is they have to be creative as well. So Wrexham, if it's Nike, for example, they are going to want access to Nike's talent roster. What they've done with their other partners, other sponsorship brands, is bring the brands to life and really make compelling kind of marketing VTs and campaigns, which are absolutely brilliant.
I mean, it's what you can see it already, right? With the star power that they've got, it's all about content. Their partnerships across, and we'll go on to it in a minute, around their sponsors. These are big sponsors, especially for that league. So anybody they're going to partner with on this, they're going to want to create some cool content, cool vibes, push it out globally, not just in the UK, right?
Yeah, definitely. So we're going to talk about ticket sales, match day sales. This is critical for championship, for any team, basically. But it's not quite as critical for Wrexham, due to their strength of commercial partnerships, which makes me think they might keep the prices of tickets at a sensible rate. So I think last season they sold approximately 6,800 season tickets, and that's ranging between £340 and £374 for adults and £100 for under 18s, which is pretty reasonable, Dave.
Yeah, I agree. So I think we were looking at averaging that out. So if you had 6,800 season tickets, selling them at £250, you're looking at 1.7 million per season.
Yeah, that's a lot of money. And their match day admission totals for year ending June 30th, 2023 was 2.8 million. Now that's 2.8 million versus a turnover of 10.4 million. So clearly it's very important, and about 25% of their revenue. So general admission tickets at Wrexham are approximately between £23 and £25 for an adult.
I mean, it'll be interesting to see for the 24-25 season how much they do change this, because they can't change it too much because of the Wrexham faithful, the fans that go. They don't want to go too Hollywood, right, and exclude those big local fan communities. So I think they'll change a little bit, but I'll be interested to see. I think they'll keep them pretty steady away. Yeah,
and I think this is the important thing to note, is that Wrexham faithful you mentioned, they were there long before Ryan and Rob, and they'll be there long after Ryan and Rob. So Wrexham's a very working class town, so you don't want to start putting up general admission prices to £40 and season tickets up to £700. That would be a disaster. The next thing we want to talk about is the player sales and transfers. That's a key way that clubs make money. And if you're a League One club, a League Two, or even a Championship club, you want that. What that model is you want that young academy player coming through. And you sell them to Chelsea for £20 million, £30 million, or Chelsea probably £100 million. That's the reality of the matter. But for Wrexham, it's a little bit different, because if players are worth a lot of money, it's because they're really good players.
Yeah.
And Wrexham need to keep their really good players. So at this point in their journey, they need to keep hold of those guys. They can pay really good wages, way above the average in the leagues.
Yep.
So unless the transfer fee is millions of pounds to a top level Championship club or a Premier League club, they need to be keeping them. And we've got to look at the players involved here. So you've got the kind of star players, the tier one players, for example, who in my opinion are players like Elliot Lee and Paul Mullin. They're both in their late 20s, and they would be worth money, but they're not going anywhere because the wages are good. Everything else that comes with Wrexham, if there was any inkling of them moving, Wrexham would throw the kitchen sink at them to keep them. Then you've got some of the older guard who have been brought in to hit the ground running. Players like James McLean and Stephen Fletcher, who have both been brilliant this season, especially James McLean. He's been absolutely brilliant for them. But they don't have resale value.
Yeah.
They're older guys that are still really good players, but have been handpicked to fit the dressing room and, as I said, hit the ground running. Then you got youngsters, Dave.
Yep, you got Max Clueworth, age 21.
Yep.
Ryan Barnett as well, age 24. These are young, talented guys that they're going to want to be retained, right? It's exciting to be there. They're going to want to keep them, see them through for the next 2-3 seasons. And then hopefully, as you say, they might be the ones that the big clubs come in and say, here's your millions, we'll take these.
Quite possibly. I remember when Ben was there and I kind of, being a football nerd that I am, I would drill into him. who were the best players. And one player he did say was Ryan Barney as they call him. And he said, he's a player. He said he's definitely a championship player. So I hope they can retain him and they just pay him a bit more money to keep him on board. But it'll be interesting to see.
So yeah, they're going to want to retain these good young lads. They've got a couple of steady heads in there as well. But Wrexham, they've got rules that they have to abide by, right? So there's certain amounts that they can spend based on turnover. Is that right?
That's right. Yeah. So everybody knows about kind of the ones in the press about the Premier League rules, the profit, sustainability, financial fair play.
Yeah.
But in the Football League, there are rules as well. So now that they're a Football League club, they have been for a couple of seasons. They have something called the Salary Cost Management Protocol, the SCMP. These state that clubs can only spend a fixed percentage of its revenue on player wages. This limit can also be added to or impacted by equity injections or net transfer spend. So the SCMP limits spending on player wages to a percentage of the club's turnover. In League One, which Wrexham are going into next season, they can spend a maximum of 60% of their turnover in wages. In League Two, the limit is 55%, which, because of Wrexham's high turnover, which is going to be even higher next season because of all the United Airlines and the Stock Arena and the naming rights, they'll be okay. It means that they can invest in the playing squad and pay more wages. So I think this is only going to be a problem the further they go up and then having to start spending 15, 20 grand a week on players potentially in the Championship.
So you mentioned a couple of the sponsors there. So why don't we get stuck into the sponsorship deals? Brands that have wanted to be involved and brands that are involved this year. Yeah.
So we mentioned earlier on that the kind of sponsorship deals revenues worth 1.88 million year ending 30th of June 2023. But this wouldn't include United Airlines as front of shirt sponsors, for example. The naming of the ground of the Stock Racecourse Arena, Stock being cold brew coffee.
Yep.
The 23-24 season sponsors included United Airlines, front of shirt, HP, the tech giant, as sleeve sponsors, Betty Buzz, which is Blake Lively's sparkling beverage company, on the training kit, Expedia, Vistaprint, Four Walls Whiskey, owned by Rob. These aren't small companies. And they've announced another one last week, haven't they, Dave?
They have indeed, yeah. So their new sports drink sponsor is Gatorade.
Yeah, and we did think that when that was announced, we spoke about it and thought that would have been one for Prime, surely. We talked about how they're kind of buying up partners within the sporting arena and content creation, Disney Plus. You would think that would be a perfect match, but Gatorade got the gig.
Yeah, never know. Maybe they had the conversation and it wasn't quite for them.
Yeah, I mean,
a Disney thing.
The documentary is absolutely critical for Wrexham. When they're selling these brands and doing deals for shirt sponsors, having that exposure on Disney is really, really important. Really, really smart as well.
Yeah. And as we've said, with these types of teams, League One teams, they don't usually get this exposure. When they're grabbing sponsors, it's not, we've got Disney over here. We're out doing tours in the US, playing Chelsea and Man United, etc. So, yeah, I think it's good. It's a great deal for sponsors and great to see for Wrexham.
Yeah, absolutely. They were in the press again last week. So Ryan and Rob have stated that they want to expand the stadium. So it's already going from 12,500 to 16,000 when the Cop's going to be finally built. But they're talking about capacities up to 55,000.
Oh, that's unbelievable.
Which I love. I love the enthusiasm for it. I'm not sure quite how realistic it is, but I just admire them for the kind of, reach for the stars type thing. And I think part of that was probably when they were on the pre-season tour last year. They're playing Chelsea in North Carolina. They're playing Man United in San Diego, I think it was. And they're filling out, 50, 60,000, 40 to 60,000 stadiums. Yeah. So the owners have probably looked at it and gone, we can do that. But we ran a few numbers, didn't we? Just modelled a few numbers, Dave, and thought we did the season ticket numbers based on around 6,700, 6,800. But what about if they went somewhere conservative and had a stadium capacity of around 25 to 30,000?
Yeah.
If you had 17,000 season ticket holders at approximately £350, we'd be talking just shy of £6 million just in season tickets.
Do you think that's why they're trying to pushing for 55? They've done the maths themselves and if we could fill out 55,000,
it sounds great. But if you go to the racecourse, the infrastructure, it would be a massive strain on the infrastructure. But at the same point, it's on the outskirts of town. It's right next to the train station. Yeah. You never know.
But I mean, even if they can increase it, as you say, to 25, 30,000, one of the big things that kind of pulls in there is around that corporate hospitality. They've got more spaces to build in boxes, right? So there will be a massive demand with their international exposure, their international fan base of people coming over that will want to come down, take up a box, right? Come down to the racecourse ground, and you can have tourists flocking in all over the place. And, you know, you've got the Turf pub next door, right?
That's right. And the landlord has said that even after the first season, he was getting 20 to 50 Americans in per day, and they're getting like bus loads, coach loads of people coming in. So clearly it's giving the local economy a real boost, which is just brilliant to see, because Wrexham, you know, as a town has had some tough times over the years. So it's just great to see them thriving again.
So yes, we've got fans coming, flocking from all over the place. But talk to me about the broadcast rights.
So obviously they're a Football League club. They were last season, they are this season. So what they get is they get a couple of payments. They'll get a payment for the TV. Right. So the EFL, the English Football League, have got a deal with Sky Sports. So they'll get a payment from them. And they get what's called a solidarity payment from the Premier League. And this is like a trickle-down payment from the Premier League to lower league football clubs. Now in League Two, a combination of these were approximately £1.1 million worth of payment. Now in League One, that will jump significantly. So that's made up of a £920,000 payment for TV from the EFL, plus the solidarity payment of £778,500, totaling £1.7 million.
Okay, I mean, that's great for UK-based residents. But if you're a non-UK viewer, how do you watch it?
Right, so now that Wrexham are in the EFL, the Football League, they have been for the last couple of years, they have a deal with Sky Sports, which obviously for domestic TV watchers, you can watch that. So the non-UK viewers, i.e. their big fan base in America, can subscribe to something called iFollow, which is the EFL's streaming service. So if you're based in San Diego and you want to watch Wrexham, even a 3 p.m. kickoff, you subscribe to this and you can watch Wrexham's games.
So they're not subject to the 3 p.m. UK blackout?
No, they're not. So they can stay aside. They can watch most of Wrexham's games for a small subscription fee.
Ooh. Another lovely little revenue generator there.
Absolutely. Which leads us nicely into their turnover by the geographical market. So again, end of June 2023, the £10.4 million turnover, 2.5 million of that was rest of the world. 7.8 million of that was UK. Now that 2.5 rest of the world, Dave, my guess, your guess.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be America. They've done the tours out there. They've got a massive fan base there, right? And again, we talk about those numbers. Just go back a year and you compare it to 2022 results. You know, 5.3 million was UK. It was only 650 grand for the rest of the world. So in one financial year, they've grown that to 2.5 million.
Yeah, and I think part of that is the documentary. Yeah. Well, a huge part of that is the documentary. Taking the team on pre-season tours is really, really important for them. So they've just announced their Rex Coast tour. See what they've done there?
See what they've done.
I like it. For the 24-25 pre-season. Last season they played Chelsea, United on pre-season tours in front of sold-out stadiums. So they're going to be doing it again this season. So they'll be taking Wrexham to the West Coast and they'll be playing some of Europe's biggest teams.
Yeah, I mean, it's great, the tour that they're doing. And we've heard that they've been commissioned for another Welcome to Wrexham season, which means naturally they'll be going out with them and following them around. But, interestingly, do Wrexham make money out of this documentary series? Because you can't find much on it, can you?
No. So it's a Disney show. And quite clearly it's been pivotal to the exposure and growth of the club in the short and the medium term. Do they make money from it? Yeah. They must do, but it really is quite unclear. Now, insiders say that Disney are pocketing up to £430,000 an episode, but what Wrexham make is a little bit unknown. Now, we've looked through their financials, and it's not glaringly obvious there. So I don't know, is the honest answer, Dave. But it's bigger than that. The documentary is bigger than that because it's the catalyst for everything else. And what Rob and Ryan will continue to do with the documentary is sprinkle that star power. So in the past, you'll have seen on the documentary and at the racecourse, you've got the likes of Hugh Jackman, Will Ferrell attending games. And Rob McElhenney has confirmed that Travis and Jason Kelce, the NFL absolute superstars, obviously Jason's just retired, will be attending a game very soon. What on earth is that going to do for Wrexham?
Oh my word! Could you imagine? Could you imagine if Travis brings Taylor Swift?
Well, she's mates with.
Holy moly!
She is big mates with Ryan's wife,
Blake.
Yeah, Blake Lively.
Oh, could you imagine?
They were at the Super Bowl together, weren't they?
Star power. Yes, they were. Yeah, I've seen the pictures of it.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, interesting. I think either way you look at it, it's an amazing story. Star power, star sponsors, shirt deals all over the place. I mean, the future's looking pretty rosy, right?
Yeah, it is. It's League One football next season, and my hopes are that Wrexham have a little playoff run and have a magical promotion to make it back-to-back promotions.
Come on, the boys.
Come on, the boys. Up the town.
See you on the flip side.